Hey everybody, it's Joel Tappin here, and I've got a new Vassal module we're going to be releasing shortly. I'm going to put it out for some beta testing first. The release of Downfall was premature, and then yeah, it just kind of turned into a mess. So we're going to make sure this gets some beta testing before we put it up there. But just to kind of give you a sense of what's coming, this is a Vassal module for a coin-like game. Vijayanagara, I think is how you're supposed to say it, or something like that. We're going to call it Vijay, okay, just for short. It's just easier to say. So it's a very coin-like game, but just to prep you in advance, I've done this module as a dumb module. That is to say, it's not a smart module like my other coin modules. It's not going to do a lot of the things that maybe you're going to want it to do. But the fact is, I don't want to spend the next 3 months of my life making it do all those things that with just a few, mental calculations like you would with the normal board game, you're able to do yourself. So we can save us a lot of time and trouble just by doing some things ourselves. And so that's why I've chosen not to automate a lot of things here. We'll get this in your hands a lot quicker that way. There is this, that's not to say there's no automation in the module, there is. So the first thing you're going to notice when you get the module loaded, it's going to look like this or something very close to it. Some scattering of cards off to the right hand side of the screen. What you got to do first, you're going to hit the Create Deck button on the toolbar. And when you do that, it'll take just a few seconds. It will rearrange all of this stuff, and it will create a deck of 35 cards. It will place the removed cards off to the side in a deck from which they can be drawn randomly. If you pull off of here, you'll be able to see, whoever draws the card will be able to see what the card is. Everyone else will not be able to see it. They'll just see the back face of the card. That's why there's that super imposition of the back artwork up in the upper left-hand corner here. That's what that signifies. The reason for that is there is an event that would allow a player to draw one of the removed cards and perhaps use it later on the game, almost like a pivotal event in some of the other coin games. So that's why they're not destroyed, and I didn't put a self-destruct routine in for them like I did with the other Mongol cards. The Mongol cards are not used in the game, they self-destruct. And then the button is no longer accessible, so you can only hit this thing once. So kind of a cool new, taking advantage of some new features in Vassal to implement that. So that will get the thing started for you. To draw a card, you hit the Draw Card button on the toolbar. I mean, really, when you see a button that says Draw Event, what do you suppose that would do? I mean, okay, so a lot of this stuff is self-explanatory, I guess I could say. It doesn't let you see one card in advance in this game, so you're just going to see the current event. So when you hit Draw Event, it'll just get rid of the existing card and just shift everything over. The counter on below the deck will show you an accurate running total of what's in the deck. The Dynasty card that's positioned up here is not movable. It is selectable. To right-click it, just flip on it over when it's time to flick to the Taglok Dynasty. So everything in the module, like I said, is pretty self-explanatory. You can separate the pieces to spread them around if you want it to look a little bit different. The units that rebel, say we do a rebellion here in Maharashtra, is how you say that. You can just select them, choose to flip these over to the rebellious side, and then when you right-click on the tributary, let me just zoom in here so you can see this a little bit better. All right, say when we right-click on a tributary control marker space in one of these areas, it'll give us the option to do a number of things. You can place your pawns. You can then adjust whether it's independent or tributary. You can adjust control and all that. If you adjust control, you're not going to be able to see anything until you remove its tributary status. So if you just hit tributary, it's already tributary. So there's no, I mean, I suppose I could disable that. And you know what? Some guys really want me to do stuff like that because they say, it reports and it confuses them. I really don't see that, but anyways, to make it independent, you just hit the Control I, and it'll get rid of that. You can still right-click, and then you can adjust it, say, to reflect the correct control. In this case, Bahmani control. I'm not sure if that's how you say it or not, but they have control now. The control's not automated. You'll have to pay attention to that yourself, just like you would in the physical game. So the game that comes in the box is not doesn't really have any automated features, and you really should treat the module here as in the same way. Like I said, I did this as a dumb module just because we can get this in your hands a whole lot faster, fewer bugs, easier for me to maintain, and I have other projects that are waiting my attention, so I wanted to get into them as well. But I think we put together something here that's pretty nice. So, when you make this tributary again, it will, it'll disguise the control. There's a multiple system of layers here. So that's what's going on with that. The influence markers, you just move all these things manually. When you move it into the same space as these bits here, you can just return these to your available stock. When the influence drops down and you need to return some pieces from your stock here back to the track, you can do it manually like so, or you can right click on these and choose to send it to the to space. Whatever method you want to do, it'll work for you. And so same sort of thing going on with the Vijayanagara pieces here. We'll just flip these guys over. We'll make this independent and mark it as Vijayanagara. This independent too. And so that's basically how everything's going to work. Now, one of the cool things I did put in the control is a way to dispatch pieces very easily. So say you're way up here in Bengal and you've played an event that makes this independent, and you want to dispatch maybe some Vijayanagara pieces here. You can right click on this and dispatch a Raja. You can right click and select maybe you want to dispatch some Delhi troops later on. It will do all the dispatching of pieces, and it'll kind of arrange them in such a way so that they don't like overlap one another. So, well, with the expansion of the emirs, kind of ran out of ideas there. So the emirs and the temples and forts, they would arrange on top of one another. So I recommend that when you dispatch pieces that you drag them away. But this is a feature that is now available. And to make a piece new or control piece neutral, that just gets rid of the control markers. So in this particular situation, we would have neutrality. Nobody has a majority in Bengal, so you'll maintain that stuff in that way. In Delhi, you can't place any Rajas or Amirs, but you can end up sending Mongols can get in there, and mostly you're going to put Delhi troops. That's primarily what you're going to do. I made a little hotspot around the text, so Control 1 will dispatch your pieces from the available stock. Now, if you run out of stock, it's going to report, but it's not going to actually put anything there. So just be aware of that particular limitation. In the Punjab and in the mountain passes, just click in the center of the text and you'll find a hotspot, so you can do a Control 9 to place your Mongols from the available Mongol invaders and so forth. So there you go. And that's how that's all going to work. I don't have any, I have minimal automation for the cavalry, so what I recommend you do is you can draw them off of here. Say you want to send these up to, oh, I realize I need to put a couple of these into Delhi's available stock. I forgot to have it set up in there. I think they start off with 2 of these guys. So you just drag them off the available deck there. This is just a convenient holding spot. I built it as a deck so it could have a counter. It's just easy for me to do. So you see how many are in the available pool. But when this gets empty in game rules, you can take them from other players, which is why I didn't create hotspots to generate them or drag them, dispatch them, if you will, from this particular deck. It just made sense to do it manually. So that's how these guys are going to work. Of course, you can flip them over to their screen size when you use them, and then when you return them to available stock, it just flips them over to the default charge side. Now, the way dice are going to work in the game, it's up here on the toolbar. I made red for attack, black for defense. So if you're attacking where there's a fort, for example, if we were doing like an attack here, and I just generated a pawn, okay? Let's say we're doing an attack here in Bengal, and we're going to use some Raja or some troops here. So we got 4 pieces. We got 3 troops, and we have the governor attacking here, attacking the Bahmani, the Bahmani kingdom, and since there's a fort, you'd only roll 3 attack dice. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, hit it 3 times. There's my dice count. And then twice for the defense. There's my dice count. And then, the Delhi has the opportunity. Do I want to use a charge? No, I don't really need to use one charge. Do I need to use a screen? Well, I'd like to, but they rolled a 1 on defense, and I can't get rid of that. And it makes no sense to get rid of a 6 because the 6 is a miss anyways. So I'm going to decline to use that. That's basically how I recommend players do this. I didn't make physical dice pieces. I mean, I could do that. It just seemed to be a lot of extra work for not a lot of, there's not a lot of bang for your buck there. So that's how I recommend that you use that, because then that sets up the situation where, normally you're going to be throwing 4 and 2, but you are going to have situations like combat in Delhi or versus a fort where you're doing 3 and 1. And rather than having multiple sets of dice buttons, I just decided to do this and just hit it multiple times. So there you go. I might change that up before final. I might just have like a normal attack or reduced attacker version that just batches all of that together. I might just do that. We'll see how it works out. Now, let's imagine you have some pawns on the board. How do I get rid of our pawns? Well, there's a button here that says delete pawns. And, well, what do you think that will do? It will delete the pawns. There you go. So there is a little bit of automation. If you're using the, when you're using your pawns here on the sequence of play, let's say we did a limited command there, and this guy went here. When you hit the adjust eligibility button on the toolbar, it will go ahead and reposition pawns accordingly. So maybe on the next go, I don't like what I see, a pass. There we go. Everything comes back to normal spot. That's all this is going to do is adjust the pawns. It doesn't do anything with the cards. So I think that's pretty much a good tour of what we have here. It's, again, very self-explanatory. I endeavored to make this super easy and user-friendly. There's a whole bunch of buttons here I didn't explain. They do exactly what you imagine they would do. The Res Plus button will increase your resources. Minus decreases it. This is true of all the factions. Victory is not automated, so you just manually adjust. Since Bengal is now independent and Maharashtra and Karnataka, we'll go ahead and have to get this down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so the marker's down to 12. All of this stuff is, really easy to do. I made it very easy for you to do, and you can just use the toolbar. So I think that's just about it. Play aids are in the play aids button here on the toolbar. There's a tab for each of the factions. I made the text nice and big so you can just kind of pan around. If you've got a smaller screen, you may need to pan around to read everything. But I wanted to make it big enough so users could see the contents and do stuff with them. So Mongol, Vijayanagara, yep, everything's in here. That is, I think, just about it for showing off how the module works. Again, if you want to play around with this, if you send me a note, we can try to get this out to people to beta test. I've got a few people looking at it, and hopefully we'll get this into your hands here within the next couple of weeks. Right now, I think it's ready to go. I haven't been able to break it yet. There's always going to be something you can do to improve the module, but I do have other projects that I need to move on to, and this seems to be very user-friendly, very playable right now. So we're hoping to get this to you pretty soon. I'm Joel Toppin. This is a new VASSAL module. Will be coming to you shortly. Hope you enjoy the video. Hope you enjoy the module when we release it.